You're welcome to Let's Talk.
We should sit down and talk. We need to sit down and talk. How Nigeria corruption, how we're going to do our job. If one can stand up and say no to corruption, we're going to do our job because I think the system, you are not just doing good for yourself or for the nation alone, you also do good for the future.
Boko Haram is an attack, it's a spiritual attack. It's a satanic attack on Nigeria. We must, if we come to recognize it, we will understand then how to look for the solution.
The Sovereign National Conference, how do we want to achieve that in our present system? We need to sit down and iron out how Nigeria should be governed.
And thanks for joining us on another edition of Let's Talk. Now, foreign investment is very key in growing the economy of any country. And in Nigeria, efforts have been ongoing to try woo foreign investors into the country to come and invest. However, the factor of security is one that can certainly not be overlooked. Now, in today's discussion, we want to look at the cost of doing business in Nigeria. What would make investors be more positively disposed towards investment in a certain country? What is the cost of doing business really in Nigeria? These are some of the things we are going to be looking at in today's discussion. So our topic says, doing business in Nigeria amid security challenges. And I have with me Kelechi Deka Anyanwu. He is the Managing Director, the African Economy. He is also a consultant and a business analyst. You're welcome to Let's Talk.
It's my pleasure.
Great. So, well, I'd like us to start this way. From your point of view, from what you have observed all this while, the business climate in Nigeria, how has it changed, let's say, in the past 5 years? Have there been any major differences in the way business is being conducted, both in terms of, you know, investors coming into the country and investing? From your view, how has doing business in Nigeria changed in the last 5 years?
Okay, thank you. It depends on how we look at it. You know, basically, it will be misleading to use the data that's available, which shows that foreign direct investments are trickling in at a considerable level to judge the perception of investments, foreign investments towards Nigeria. Well, the issue is that Nigeria is the biggest market in Africa. And being the biggest market in Africa, it is supposed to attract more than it's attracting, but it's not doing very well in that direction, in spite of official claims that investments are coming in. Okay. When we talk about investments coming in, then you have to ask yourself, in what area are the investments coming in? Basically, oil and gas. And you don't use that kind of investment to judge a country's ability to attract and retain investment, because oil and gas, you know, is an investment that's not is very capital intensive, but you know, it's not labor intensive. Okay. And every country needs labor intensive investments, because that's the one that will have trickle down effect on the people. It's like telecom. Okay. It's a labor intensive investment. So it's like manufacturing. It's labor intensive. So like if $10 billion worth of investment, you know, gets into the oil and gas sector, it might not employ it might not create employment opportunity of up to 100 people. Okay. But if $2 billion worth of investment, you know, trickles into the manufacturing sector, you're likely to have employment opportunities of up to 1,000 people. Okay. So you see the differences there. And also, the Nigerian investment climate has not improved over the last 5 years to be able to attract people who are risk averse.
Okay.
You judge the investment climate of a country based on its ability to attract both people who are risk averse and people who have the heart to take risk. Nigeria is still attracting people who have the heart to take risk because it has one of the highest return on investment. But you need to have the heart first.
Okay.
So until you create an environment whereby both those who have the heart to take risk and those who don't have the heart to take that kind of risk will be able to play, you won't be said to have created a very conducive investment climate. So over time, Nigeria has been creating an environment that is attracting people with heart to take risk, and it is still the same kind of people because they've done it, they've seen the yield, and they're still doing it, and they're still getting the yields, you know, because majority of them are coming from environments that were similar to Nigeria, India, China, South Africa. These are environments that had similar experiences. So they have developed that DNA for risk. So it's easier for them to come here, you know.
Okay, now some are of the view that the Nigerian business environment has been adversely affected, especially because of the recent security challenges in the country. Now, you know, being an expert in the African economy, how do you quantify this new threat?
It has, but its real impact cannot be accurately quantified, because basically, like, as I said earlier, if you look at the map of Nigeria, it will be easy for you to pinpoint where the investments are going. And 80% of where these investments are going are not within the so-called security threat belt. 80% of where the investments are going are within the southernmost part of Nigeria, looking at towards the coastal areas. These areas are not experiencing the level of security threat that the other areas are experiencing. So, but that is that. It would be also misleading to think that because the investments are going into this area that does not have security threat, it is not impacting on the general investment overview, because perception is reality. Somebody who is outside there, who is in the United States or who is in Europe or Japan or any other place and thinking of investing in Nigeria, and every time he tunes to the news, he's hearing about bomb blast in Bauchi, bomb blast in Yobe, bomb blast in Taraba. That person does not know that the same way he's hearing that bomb blast is the same way that majority of Nigerians are also hearing the bomb blast. So he does not know the difference. He does not know the distance between, say, Lagos or Port Harcourt and Bauchi. As far as he's concerned, Nigeria is a security risk. He will not get to hear the news because we know what sells. The news that sells is bad news.
Bad news.
So he will not get to hear the news that, you know, there are thousands of people are getting married every day in Nigeria. Millions are, all the good things that are happening that are not being affected by the so-called security threat. He won't hear that kind of news. And as far as he's concerned, Nigeria is a security threat, and he won't come to Nigeria. And if you check now, because I had an opportunity to meet someone who's into international conference management, and she told me that in the last 6 months, she had, her organization and other organizations have had to, counsel about 5 international conferences that were built to take place in Nigeria, because so many participants were sending in emails saying that their organizations or their principal or their sponsor, just telling them that that Nigeria is on amber, security is on amber, so they can't allow them to travel to Nigeria. So you see, that's the perception. But to most of us here, we might think that Boko Haram is in the north, but you don't care how other people are perceiving it. And as long as you have this kind of perception, you will not be able to know what level of impact is it having in preventing genuine investors from coming to Nigeria. And what it means also is that anybody who wants to come to Nigeria to invest and gets in touch with maybe one consultant or the other, you know, now you have to, it has to cost you more to be able to get the kind of information ordinarily you would have got from a phone call. So most of those investors, most of those risk analysts will now charge people, investors, more outside of Nigeria. They will charge them more to be able to give them information concerning Nigeria than they would have given them information concerning Ghana, say Ghana or any other place. So so that is the way it's affecting investment. It's affecting in different areas. And that's why, you know, when people, recently there was a First Ladies Forum in Abuja and stuff like that, you know. A lot of people criticized it, you know. I criticized it from another angle. And I also commended it from another angle. You know, most people don't see the bigger picture. The positive impact of holding such a conference in Abuja is it helps to send the signal, positive signal out there that this conference is taking place in Nigeria.
In Nigeria and in Nigeria.
And not, you know, this place is safe. And every other person that attended that conference will go back with the information that this is not the way we are seeing it on television. This place is safe. Apart from the little economic impact it's going to have, because all those people that are going to eat, they're going to be lodged in hotels. All of them entered through, you know, they flew to come here. They paid airport tax, which is inside their ticket. They didn't know that they're paying airport tax and charges. They didn't know, and that's coming through the Nigerian economy and other stuff like that. They make phone calls and stuff like that. Those are other things. So that's why it's very important for the government to try and be hosting little conferences here and there, so that people will come in, and when they come in, they will see that it is not all bombs and booms.
Okay, well, if you're just joining, we are talking about doing business in Nigeria amid security challenges in the country. And I'm still talking with Kelechi Deka Anyanwu, who is the managing editor of The African Economy. He's a consultant as well as a business analyst. And we have been talking now from your point of view. Do you think that the Nigerian government has done enough in ensuring a risk-free Nigerian business environment?
No. They've not, because they've not started. They've not started, not to talk of doing enough. You see, every country has its own challenges. You know, okay, for example, if somebody ran away from Nigeria because of the Boko Haram and something issue, and he was unfortunate, he ran to Colorado, went to Aurora, Colorado, and went to watch a movie, and was in the theater when somebody pulled out a gun and started shooting everybody. You see, there's risk all over. Being alive is also a risk itself. But the thing is that it is the perception of risk that matters most. Every part of the world is risky. Living in any part of the world is risky. There is no part of the world that is risk-free. Anything might happen, you know. But the issue is perception. What's the perception of people? How do people think about a certain place? Because the perception of security itself is security. Okay. You know, it's like you're moving, like in most parts of the world whereby people perceive that they have good, you know, there's good security network. It's not that they're seeing the security network. It's not that there's any evidence on ground to prove. But it's just the perception that this kind of thing cannot happen here.
Okay.
And when people have that perception that this kind of thing cannot happen here, they go ahead and do a lot of things. They go ahead and invest. They go ahead and call other people to come and invest because of that perception. Perception is everything.
So are you saying that the Nigerian government hasn't yet invested in, you know, creating a kind of perception?
Yes, about
the
Nigerian government needs to make efforts towards the brand Nigeria. How do people see Nigeria out there? When the name Nigeria is mentioned outside Nigeria, what comes to people's minds? You see, people are not going to come to Nigeria before they change their perception of Nigeria. We are the ones that are supposed to take Nigeria out there so that they will see.
Okay.
If you know, in some of the networks all over the world, when you're watching it, you see so many countries trying to burnish their image, trying to whitewash their image, trying to, you know, bringing out the best about their country. You see in any of the international channels, you see different countries advertising, showing people the good things about their country. One day we'll be here waiting. We'll be seeing Afghanistan, the best place to be, and Nigeria is still here. We're not doing anything. You open your television, you see Afghanistan. They will come and show you beautiful mountains, beautiful, you know, very beautiful places, and they will be showing you, and people will be buying into those things. But Nigeria, if you watch international channels, how many PR advertorial that is targeted towards burnishing the image of Nigeria? None. We are not doing all those things. Those are the things we should be doing. We should be hosting events that will bring out international media. Like you look at Nigeria, Lagos, for example. You know, Nigeria should be able to build a world-class golf course, bring in some of the best in the world, put prize money. Let it be covered by international media that, you know, Lagos Championship, so Championship. Nigeria should be able to host international tennis. Bring in some of these, even if some of the aging tennis players, bring them in, let them come. These are the things that you should do to help, launder the image of the nation. Then there should be a very wonderfully crafted design Nigeria advertorial on the major channels all over the world. There are so many places in Nigeria that is worth seeing. Nigeria has some very wonderful tourist attraction sites that nobody is aware of. We should be marketing these things outside the world. Let them see it. You know, let me tell you, a lot of people are bored outside the world. And to so many people, you know, I was in East Africa last month, and I met some tourists from Europe, you know, who were supposed to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It takes 6 days to climb Kilimanjaro when you start. So it takes 6 days to climb, you know. After the first day, I said, I'm not climbing again, you know. And around that place, there are lions all over the whole place that can eat up somebody and, you know, stuff like that. Then there's one lake very close there. They say the crocodiles on that lake can come out and they've been attacking people. But nobody is hearing about that news that the crocodiles are attacking people. Then I asked one of the people I met, you know, he's from Holland. I said, are you not worried about these crocodiles? And the guy said that, worried about crocodiles. He said that if I'm being attacked by a crocodile, it's adventure. He said it's adventure. If I'm running away from a crocodile, it's adventure. You see, a lot of people are bored out there. They want to come out and see the things they've not been seeing before. To us, you might think that if you see this thing is not a tourist, we think that what is tourist attraction, what can attract a tourist might be either a lion or this or this. No, there are a lot of things.
Landmarks.
Somebody can come to Balogun Market and see the sea of heads, the way everybody is packing, everybody is moving, the kind of frenzy, the kind of energy that people are unleashing. That is something Nigeria can market. Nigerians have energy that you can unleash even under a 40-degree temperature. They are still, that's energy. A lot of people have not seen that kind of thing before.
Okay, I do recall that we did at some point have the Nigerian rebranding campaign, you know, and so much was put into that. And, you know, when you were talking about Nigeria changing its perception and everything, I remembered it. And I thought to myself, what happened to that campaign? Was it that the motive was wrong? Was it that it was not properly done in a way? Was it that it was started and at some point it appears to have been aborted? What really happened? We're talking about changing the perception of people.
You see, it was poorly designed and unprofessionally executed.
Okay.
That's basic. You know, before that rebranding campaign, there was another campaign, the Heart of Africa. Nigeria was being marketed before that, this campaign. The campaign that was running before, Nigeria was being marketed as the heart of Africa. Trying to sell the idea that if you come to Nigeria, you don't need to go to Ghana, go to South Africa, go to Kenya, go to everything you need to see all over is Nigeria. Nigeria has the highest, in spite of people don't know, Nigeria has the highest concentration of Africans from all over the continent. So Nigeria was being marketed as the heart of Africa then. But when the new minister came in, you know, efforts were not made to try to pick out some of the salient and very important points from the campaign that was still being run. What they did was to, which is characteristically Nigerian, they just threw away the baby with the bathwater and started something else, rebranding Nigeria. Good people. That was good people, good nation, you know. Yes, it's very good. Good people, good nation. It's perfect. But the other stuff following it, the advertorial, the video clip, and everything was too elitist. It was too up there. That's not how it is done. You've watched Malaysia beautifully, Asia. You find out the kind of things they go, where they go. You know, you have to show so many things. There are so many scenic beauty spots all over Nigeria. Nigeria has one of the most beautiful beaches and stuff like that. Nobody's showing it. Nobody's showing all those things. Nigeria, you know, from the Atlantic Ocean down to up north, there are about 4 different vegetation. Nobody's showing some of those things, that if you move from this place, you move from the mangrove to the mangrove forest, then you move to the rainforest. From the rainforest, you move to the savanna. From this savanna, nobody is showing some of those changes. Nobody is capturing all those beauty. They are not. You see, it's the simple things that people want to see. You don't gonna go out there. You want to market Nigeria. You're showing them the skyscrapers on Broad Street. Somebody coming from New York is tired of seeing skyscrapers, because in most parts of the New York, most parts of the city of New York, the sun does not come down because of skyscrapers. So somebody who is living there does not want to see those things. He wants to see some of the things he's not used to seeing. Okay,
we're still talking about doing business in Nigeria amid security challenges, and we've talked a whole lot about changing the way people, investors especially, perceive the investment climate in Nigeria. But there still is the issue of tackling insecurity itself that comes in. You know, so how is the federal government going to go about it? Now, we've seen in the news, we heard reports about Mr. President, having certain meetings with people to try and woo investors. But it does appear that the issue of security is not being addressed the way people expect it to be addressed. So how do you reconcile the issue of security in itself being tackled and trying to create the perception that Nigeria is not all about bomb blasts and killings and all of that?
Basically, you shouldn't tackle security in isolation of other challenges that are inhibiting investors from coming to Nigeria. You see, to an average investor out there, if you tackle the issue of power supply, it will have up to 80% impact in his ability to come and invest than security. There are other things that are bogging down on the investor that is not even security. These things were there before the security issue came up. The security issue kind of compounded it or just raised it to another level. But if you're able to handle some of those other issues, infrastructure. That's when you talk about the cost of doing business in Nigeria, basically infrastructure is number one. Somebody who's coming to Nigeria to set up a factory, that person is expected, first and foremost, to provide his own water at the factory site, provide his own electricity at the factory site. You need to, the road network going inside the factory site, the person will be expected to construct a road network going into the factory site. Security comes next. All over the world, every investor provides their own security. All over the world. Even in some of those places we think that are so secured, if workers come and they do not see the security man sitting in front of all those television cameras watching everywhere, they will not go into their office, in spite of the fact that there is this perception that those places are secure. So security is an issue, not only in Nigeria, it's an issue all over the world. But what I'm saying is that, first and foremost, if the government can tackle the other, like the security issue we have in Nigeria now is seen as somehow, is not something you get a kind of one-size-fits-all solution. It's not something you just come out and say pronto, you solve it. It's somehow more multifaceted. But now, if you can't handle that one outright, but you're doing the little you can do in that area, what of the ones you can handle outright, which is the infrastructural challenge? Why not handle the infrastructural challenge? Then you reduce the cost of doing business in Nigeria. If you notice, some multinationals that are operating in Nigeria and are operating in other neighboring countries are moving their production base to these other neighboring countries, where they leave the administrative base in Nigeria, because it costs them less to produce in these other countries, and you bring it. I won't call the names of the countries, but when you see some of these products, you look at made in, you will discover that you will see manufactured in Ghana for so Nigeria Limited.
Okay, very quickly, and I have like 2 questions in one, which is also the last question. Now there was this I wouldn't call it ban, it's more like a restriction, by certain governments, talking about the US, the UK and Canadian governments, sort of restricting their nationals from coming to Nigeria because of the perceived insecurity in the country. And it does appear that that has also drawn a lot more attention to that single factor of insecurity in the country. Now, with that going on, we also have, asking, in the midst of all this, what should the federal government do? We've said a lot of things, but in conclusion, what should be the focus, really? You talked about infrastructure and all of that, but if you were to say it in one sentence, for instance, amid the ongoing things we have, like insecurity, some governments restricting their nationals from coming on, what should be the focus of Nigerian government to ensure that investors do come into the country?
As I said earlier, which I'm going to reiterate, the basic thing, handle, while you're working on the issue of perception, put the basic infrastructure on ground first. But when you talk about the issue of people banning travel warning, I laugh. About 4 months ago, I was to travel from UK to South Africa, and my South African visa was expired. So when I went there to get this, and then they have to make me pass through where they have to get some travel warnings. My sister, if you see the travel warning from UK for people going to South Africa, you would think that nobody's living in that part of the world. It's all over. That's, you know, that most governments all over the world, the market fear, you know, the market fear. But there are people who are still coming. Recently, Etihad Airways started flying into Nigeria, just recently, about 2 months ago, on an inaugural flight from Nigeria out, 213 passengers. That is a history in aviation. Inaugural flight that sometimes you enter some inaugural flight, you see about 20 people, 30 people in a big aircraft. 213 passengers. If I tell you the number of aircrafts that comes into Nigeria from all over the world, you will be shocked. But the thing is that let's do our own thing. Put our stuff in place. You see, capital will always look for where it will be multiplied. Okay. You keep it somewhere where it's not multiplied, it is losing value. Capital will always be looking for where it will be multiplied. Nigeria has one of the highest return on investment. It is the biggest market in West Africa, which means it is so attractive and so tempting for an investor out there. Where are you going to invest? In Europe, that is in recession? Are you going to invest in America? Where are you going to invest? This is the only place you can invest now and make some money. And those people, they don't care about that. So what the government is supposed to do, tackle some of the infrastructural challenges, but keep on putting the information out there. Ensure that the bright side of the country is projected more out there for those who don't have the heart. Okay. That's the basic thing the country should do. And when they do this, people will still come. And you see one thing, if they are not coming, there are ways you do these things. Empower your people to invest in Nigeria. Empower also Nigerians in diaspora to invest homewards. That's what China did. China did this thing about 25 years ago when they tried to get ethnic Chinese from all over the world to start investing in China. This boom you're seeing in China now started when ethnic Chinese all over the world start showing confidence in investing in China. When Nigerians all over the world start showing confidence in investing in Nigeria, other people will follow suit and come. Capital will always look for where it will make the most out of itself.
Okay, capital will always look for where it's going to get plenty of returns, and that is in conclusion. Actually, we have been talking about doing business in Nigeria amid the security challenges going on at the moment, and I have been talking with Kelechi Deka Anyang, who is the managing editor, The African Economy. He's also a consultant and a business analyst. Thank you very much for being on the program today. Well, what more can I say? We have everything that it takes. All that we need to do right now is to redirect our focus to the things that really matter. And when we do, we're going to have more of the foreign investment that we could ever possibly dream of. I'd like to thank you for being part of today's edition of Let's Talk. We will do the same tomorrow, same time on.
You're welcome to Let's Talk.
We sit down and talk. We need to sit down and talk. How Nigeria corruption, how we're going to do our job. We want to stand up and say no to corruption. We're going to do our job because I think the system, you are not just doing good for yourself or for the nation alone, you also do good for the future.
Boko Haram is an attack, it's a spiritual attack. It's a satanic attack on Nigeria. We must, if we come to recognize it, we will understand then how to look for the solution.
The Sovereign National Conference, how do we want to achieve that in our present system? We need to sit down and iron out how Nigeria should be governed.